Hi everyone, I'm Dave Bobin, and we have some exciting guests with us today. We have Dr. Ebell, we have Carrie, we have Charles. We're gathered today just to talk about student engagement and Hispanic cinema. So welcome everyone.
Thank you.
It's exciting, the topic of Hispanic cinema. So both of you are in the Hispanic cinema class.
Correct.
How's it going for you? What are your lessons learned, best practices? What can you share with others?
So far, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I mean,
I like how we get to learn about the different cultures, such as like Spain, and how it shows a different side that a lot of people may not be able to like visualize or see.
So what's exciting about our Spanish courses on campus, whether on campus here in Marianna, Florida, or online through our Canvas learning management system, the topic of studying Spanish is just more than just a discipline. It's studying a culture, kind of connecting stakeholders, family, and friends. So Dr. Bell, you had some framing thoughts on that as we kind of talked about this filming episode.
Well, Carrie has no Spanish background prior to coming into the class, and you can contrast that with Charles, who speaks Spanish fluently. He's native fluent. And years back, we had difficulty finding students that would even want to take Hispanic cinema because of the name is sort of off-putting for some, I guess. And I even actually checked into changing the name to something that was a little bit more attractive, and I was told, well, we have to go with that name because that's the state designated title. But I think Carrie has a little bit of a story about how she got into the class. Can you tell us about that?
so I needed another Gordon Rule writing, and I was talking to an advisor, and he said that Hispanic cinema was an option, and I was like, well, what in the world is that? So he started explaining it to me and said we didn't need any Spanish background or anything, so I was like, well, I might as well try it, and turns out I really like it, so yeah.
And Charles, what was your motivation behind taking the course?
Well, I also needed my final writing class, and I also wanted to learn a little bit more about my culture itself, and it seemed like an interesting class, honestly.
So Carrie, I've heard that you actually had a chance to travel and maybe do some missions work
Yes,
and
sir.
studied kind of the Spanish culture a little bit. You mind sharing that with
Yes,
us?
sir. So I did a 9-month mission trip, actually. So I traveled all over the place, but I spent 3 months in Guatemala. So I lived in a Spanish-speaking country for 3 months. So like I picked up a few like words here and there, and I can pick up on those when we're watching the films. So that had a little bit of say in, well, not say, but like that gave me a little more interest in the Hispanic cinema class because I lived in the culture. So, and I never really saw any of their films, so I was interested in those. So.
Nice. And then Charles, I've had you in class before. You're a
Yes, sir.
technology student, if you will. And what do you think the connection with Spanish and Hispanic cinema with, just say, business and technology? Do you see a connection with that?
A little bit. I mean, you could definitely connect with other people around the world if you wanted to, like Hispanic people, for example, and it would definitely help you out if you wanted to communicate with them and, for example, they didn't speak English at all. It would definitely help you in a way.
So what's kind of exciting about this, and Dr. Bell and myself, we were just planning this session here of sharing some best practices, is Spanish is required for many programs, definitely for those considering the bachelor's degree. In Hispanic cinema, you get the Gordon writing rule, you get many takeaways from that course as well. But the thought of maybe taking a bigger perspective, we thought both of you would have valuable experience to share with maybe other students out there considering Spanish or Hispanic cinema, that there's more than just the learning in the class. It's connecting of stakeholders, of family and friends. Do you mind, Carrie, talking more about that, of just the connections you built in your mission
Yes, sir.
travels, and maybe what you've gained from the class and what you want to share with others?
Well, like in Spanish culture, a lot of the families are a lot closer than you would think of people here. In my travels in Guatemala, like a family of 5 or 7 would be living in one room, and you can tell that like in their going abouts in town and things that like they're much more family oriented and a lot closer. And seeing these films, I can connect back to that, and I can see it in watching these films and things. Yeah.
And not to embarrass Charles, so the Spanish culture, the family there seems to be very prominent.
Yeah.
The first time I met Charles, I think I was actually interviewed, not to embarrass you, by your family.
Oh, no, it's fine.
So they showed up in my office interviewing me to make sure it was a valuable undertaking for Charles to come to Chipola College. I'm glad that that worked out well. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yes, sir. I appreciate
So-
the opportunity.
Do you see that connection in the cinema class? It's
Oh, yeah.
studying film that is a family and friend focus?
Definitely, yes. I see.
Charles, have you ever seen any Hispanic films prior to taking the class?
A few, yeah. Because my mom likes to watch her programs and stuff, so I'm kind of familiar with them.
I taught a course in Hispanic cinema in the fall for online students, and I really didn't have a chance to get to know them the way I do the in-person classes. But I noticed that from the essays they were writing, that some of the students had parents who had immigrated from Hispanic countries and apparently really didn't have much family conversations about it. And 3 of the films that we see in the course are related to immigration, but they're told from the perspective of a Hispanic person, a Hispanic director, Hispanic screenplay writer. And one of the students wrote that he didn't understand what his father had gone through to get to this country till he saw the film, or several of the films, and he got an appreciation for it. And another student said that she was watching the films with her mother, and they were getting family conversations started based on the film that they were watching together. So it was kind of a uniting thing for some of the families.
So it's exciting when you look at the marketplace, Charles. You raised the point of, as a business technology person, of just understanding others and their backgrounds better. You know, the marketplace is growing faster than we anticipated. It's kind of challenging now with online and working virtually. You know, that it's probably here to stay. Some lessons learned and some takeaways from the current things we're working through. So having a better understanding of those that you're collaborating with and working with probably could make project deliverables that much better, collaborations that much better. So I guess thinking about that and learning more about the Spanish culture, would you recommend that course for others? What, Charles, Carrie,
Yes.
what would you recommend for maybe students watching this or families watching this?
I would recommend it. If you have the chance to, you should definitely take this course.
I would too. I would recommend it. I'm really enjoying it, and with having like it being a Spanish movie and like we have English subtitles, so like it's actually pretty easy as long as you're paying attention to what you're watching, and you learn to pay closer attention to what you're watching as well. So you pick up on the little details.
And what's exciting about Hispanic cinema is you don't need Spanish 1 or 2 to take the course. It can be taken as a Gordon Rule writing course as well. It can be taken as an elective probably for others who maybe have already fulfilled that requirement. So you can take it out of sequence. You can take that just as a love of learning more about cultures, about studying movies. You know, that's kind of fun to think you can get credit for watching films. I mean, is that even
Right.
real? That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
And it's a good launching pad maybe to those who are considering the bachelor's degree, where you can then come back and take Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. If you haven't had those already in high school, those are requirements to complete our bachelor studies at Chipola. So any parting words, Dr. Bell, for maybe future students, current students?
Well, I was just talking to Charles earlier that he's fluent in Spanish, and he's taking an online class right now. But we also offer a 3rd semester of Spanish, intermediate Spanish it's called, and in that class we have a collection of literature that we read in Spanish, in the original Spanish, from famous authors and magazines and periodicals and cartoon strips and poetry. And that class would be a class that would be required for anyone that's transferring to University of Florida, Florida State, in the College of Arts and Sciences. So a lot of students aren't aware that they could take that class and increase their Spanish fluency and their reading ability, even if, like Charles, they're native fluent.
Yes, and we try to keep all the students that we touch here at Chipola with us as long as possible, but there are students, as you mentioned, Dr. Bell, who maybe are studying computer science that are going to FSU or other places, and sometimes they have to take that Spanish 3, the intermediate Spanish. Knowing that you can take it here at Chipola where you have your family and friends and you're already comfortable is a positive takeaway as well. So
I might add that if you take that class at FSU, which I formerly taught at FSU, so I know this is true, you're going to have a graduate teaching assistant, and you're not going to have a full professor with a PhD like you would here.
right, with other experiences, you've traveled yourself throughout Europe and South America, Central America, so those are great experiences to share in class. You said even as a faculty, you find it more engaging when you're in person, so that ability here as well. Fantastic. Well, Dr. Bell, Carrie, Charles, thank you. This is a great segment to share with CCTV and our stakeholders out there throughout Chipola College. So thank you again, and I guess bye for now.